Hello, ladies and gentlemen, metalheads all over the place. Welcome to episode 76 of the Horsemen podcast. And Ricky and I are joined by yet another member of Blood Red Throne. We might as well call ourselves the honorary sixth and seventh members at this point. Please welcome.
The honorary oos.
Oh, yeah. We're the honorary ooses. But we are joined by the one and only Meathook, Ivan Gujic. How's it going, Ivan?
Just fine and dandy. A little bit hungover, but hell, you can't have everything.
Yeah. I mean, even I'm feeling a little out of it because, oh my God, fucking daylight savings going ahead an hour and I could not fall asleep. I didn't fall asleep till 3 in the morning and it's 10 a.m. here now, so not the best, but hey, I'm tough enough to deal with it. So there you go.
Tough enough.
Well, thank you guys for having me on your show. It's an honor, and I really thank you for supporting our music. And hell yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, of course, Ivan, you are the third member we have had from BRT on the show. We've had Gunner on here twice. Just over or less than 2 weeks ago, we had Bolt. And now we got you. So it's almost like we're working backwards a little bit. Like we started with the new guy, then the next new guy, and now the middleman, you.
Yeah. I'm honored. Thank you.
So eventually we'll get Freddie and Daniel on here at some point, and then we'll have the whole band. Which
the
is
whole fucking band.
Slowly moving up Jacob's ladder.
Aha! Yeah. So I guess a good place to kind of begin on this would be the same way we begin all of these chats we have with other musicians. Like over the years we've done this show, we've had, of course, as you know, Daniel DK from Exciter, Gunner, James McBain from Hellripper. We've had even two death metal legends in Dan Swano and Jeremy Wagner from Broken Hope, and of course Bolt, and now yourself. So we always like to begin these with a very cool origin story, like the origins of the Meathook in this case, about musical upbringing, how he got into metal, and eventually the big bands, and then ending up in BRT. So where did the start of the love for music come from?
Well, a little bit about me. I came to Norway in '94. I'm originally from Bosnia. So came as a refugee to Norway. I was during the war, and lived in Norway ever since. It's next year I'll be living here in Norway 30 years. Very glad for that. It's a beautiful country and all that, but I started to listen to metal music when I was like 13 years old or something like that. And it was I've always been a huge fan of fast music. And I remember I bought Garage Inc. That was the first album that I ever bought with Metallica, and I just I fell in love. It was like, holy shit, it's just like went through my body, and I was born metalhead, so yeah, like 12, 13 or something, so and you know how it is, you just started listening to Metallica, and there was like Megadeth and Pantera, of course. I mean, yeah. And after a while, it's like I got introduced to more intense bands, was like Sepultura and Slipknot and Cannibal Corpse. When it comes to bands, I always, wanted more of that intense, aggressive shit, So thrash metal, death metal, technical death metal, grindcore. So yeah, that's how it started,
Yeah, that's yeah. I always seem to notice that's like the natural progression for somebody getting in the metal. Like even myself, like I always tell my story just because it's so kind of out of the box, but at the same time very orthodox together. But like my older brothers who are about your age, because I'm the baby of the family, and my brothers were like 12 and 14 years older than me, respectively. And because I was born in '94, and so early on, it was like my parents, they would have classic rock radio on all the time. So, yeah, Steve Miller, AC/DC, and CCR. And then I heard, how are my voice cracks still there? I digress.
Again?
And I'm not even sick anymore, but whatever. And then around 6 years old, I got into Metallica through I Disappear, since that was around when Mission Impossible 2 was coming out.
Remember that.
And then, and then I just got more into Metallica, and that was the beginning. And then eventually got into like Avenged Sevenfold because they were starting to get popular when I was a kid, and then to discovering the roots like Maiden and Sabbath and Priest, and then the thrash, and became obsessed with thrash when I got into high school. And then around sophomore, junior year, then to the big giant rabbit hole of death metal. And I just, it's a growing process. Like I just keep finding more bands, not just within death metal, but all over the place.
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. Same thing with me. I was like probably like 7 years old when I started listening. Well, technically started to classic rock because my uncle's across in Mexico. And of course, AC/DC, I was the first band that got me into this whole world. And then, of course, Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, Guns N' Roses. They were like my big bands at the time. But as time went on, middle school, and then, of course, this was during middle school, bands like Evanescence, Breaking Benjamin, Linkin Park, kind of like the emo years, as I like to call it. And then it wasn't until high school that I actually expanded my, taste in metal, got into death metal first, and then black metal, and then more into thrash, and then progressive metal, and then just went on and on and on and on and on. It's like an endless journey that to this day you discover more and more bands.
Definitely.
Yeah, and so with all that, now we get into your time in BRT, because like I did back in October. Yeah, in October.
Yeah,
I did the whole BRT catalog ranking, which got great feedback from pretty much everybody in the band. Like Daniel, Gunnar, Bolt, pretty much everybody was like, hell yeah. Yeah, and it was fucking bitch to rank, because it's like literally all the albums are really good to incredible. So getting into you're very welcome. But to get into your timeline, like you came in around 2010, 2011 time. Am I correct?
Yeah.
So this was around the Brutalitarian Regime album when you came in to take over for one of the founding members and one of the legends of Norway metal in general, Chort. So how did it feel to come into BRT at that time and to have to step in the shoes of a Norwegian legend like Chort?
Well, I didn't think too much, I was like, I live in Kristiansand, and the metal community, everybody knows everyone, and I was playing in different bands and stuff, so I saw on a heavy metal site that Blood Red Throne needed a guy who could step in because Chort was still in the band,
Mhm.
And I went on audition, and I got the job. And I remember this is pretty funny, you know. I told myself, all right, you're gonna play with Daniel and the former drummer. Now, don't fuck up. You need to learn everything 100%. If Daniel breaks a string, you need to keep that motherfucker rolling, you know. And the funny thing, you know, we're jamming out, practicing, you know, and Daniel breaks a fucking string, and I was like, okay,
Fuck.
you know, my nuts were like, oh. So yeah, I nailed that, and we had a tour in just a small tour in Europe and UK. We played at Neurotic Death Fest in Netherlands, and before the tour, Daniel ends up breaking his foot. So that was my first tour with Blood Red Throne, only me on the guitar.
Oh
So that
wow.
was like, holy shit, you know, I'm not even a member yet, you know, and I'm fucking, goddamn, my balls were tight then. Holy shit. So yeah, but I managed that too, you know, that was pretty fucking funny, you know. So yeah, have been keeping it rolling since '09, I remember. So yeah.
Wow.
I'm just imagining the minute you got there to the rehearsal, you're like, shit, like this is unreal. Like, don't fuck it up, don't fuck it up, don't fuck
Yeah.
it up. Because if
Yeah.
I were in your shoes, I'd probably fuck it up. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, I probably would have lost my nerve, and I would have been like, I can't do this. This is too much pressure. I don't do good with pressure.
Under pressure.
But
Yeah, yeah.
at least things have gotten a lot easier. It seems for you for sure.
Well, you know, we had some ups and downs. Of course, that's how it is being in a band. You know,
Mhm.
we've done tons of tours, and the one with Dimmu Borgir and Enslaved in the States and Canada. That was fucking awesome. We toured with Suffocation and Cattle Decapitation in Europe. That was really fucking awesome. And we've done a lot of good stuff, you know, and I'm pretty fucking thankful and proud of that. So yeah, I'm
Yeah,
really blessed with everything, you know. So
yeah,
and I'm really glad to be in a band with musicians that are extremely motherfucking good, you know.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah,
everybody in Blood Red Throne is just a. It's not only being a good guitar player or a drummer, bassist, whatever, you know, it's you got to have balls, gentlemen. You when we were on stage, you know, and I was talking with my fellas, you know, I was like, God damn, you know, this ain't your normal death metal band, you know. It's like
mhm,
it's a lot of muscle, you know. So fucking a
yeah,
show.
yeah. A lot of balls and sweat. So my next
Uh,
question I'm gonna ask you right now is kind of the same question I kind of asked Bolt last time. Being that you're in Norway now, you came to Norway around 94. Am I correct?
yes, sir.
So you pretty much came in after the whole Norwegian thing that happened in the 90s. So my question to you is, when you started getting into metal and started to understand and kind of see what happened in the Norwegian black metal scene, what were your reactions to it? Do you think it was something that wasn't real, something that was it couldn't happen? Because we asked Boltis and he remembers it like he was like what 7, 8
He
years
was
old when it
like,
happened,
yeah, yeah.
and he remembers on the news being about this happening during the news. So it was a big deal in Norway. So what was
Yeah,
your reaction when you came across this little thing of history now that you're
yeah.
in Norway?
Yeah, with the church burnings and people getting stabbed, I just started masturbating.
Well, that's a first.
Yeah.
Greatest answer in the history of this show.
No, it was fucking. It was wild. It was wild. There was. Um. I don't remember it too much. Being on the news, and I didn't speak Norwegian pretty well in '94. Because I just came to Norway. But in the aftermath, a couple of years later and stuff like that, and getting to know all that stuff that happens, it's was yeah, it's pretty wild, It's pretty fucking wild, It's well, I think that's one of the reasons why Norwegian black metal got so fucking big,
Mhm.
It was in the news all over the world, and all this shit happening, and yeah,
And
it's
Kerrang magazine going
Yeah,
crazy about it back at that time too.
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I
Because
mean,
because it's still one of those things that I to this day cannot believe it actually happened.
mm,
Like trying to separate the music from the stories, from of course the church burnings, dead suicide, Varg's dead. Not Varg. Euronymous is dead, and then of course what happened
mm,
in with Faust and all that still boggles
yeah,
my mind. All that happened.
mm, crazy. It's
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a different Norway back then, and
yeah.
I don't know if we've had that ever since. I mean, thank God we haven't had that kind of thing ever since. I hope.
And of course, one of the big parts about that whole scene during that period was, of course, all the stories out there about how Euronymous tried to make himself look like a bigger figure than he was by trying to
Yeah.
tell people that, oh, death metal's lies, it's not true, blah 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 blah.
Mm.
Like if there was such a thing as trolls back in that era, Euronymous would have been a troll
I
because
think I think almost everybody in the region black metal scene was a troll
about
in some
eighty
Oh,
percent of them probably, but
yeah,
like
yeah,
but it's just again, I bring it up all the time because it's like really Oystein. It's like you started Mayhem out loving death metal and grindcore early on, and then suddenly
yeah.
you're like, oh, this is the worst music ever. Blah blah blah.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
and didn't
it,
he sign that death metal band to his record label if I remember
oh
correctly?
yeah, who
Oh
was that?
yeah.
Oh, Merciless.
yeah, 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 yeah.
But I
Yeah, it's
mean,
strange, but
strange times, and also, as Bull put it, they were all kids that were
Hmm.
still figuring shit out, and it
yeah.
just went out of control. But we
I was about to
digress.
say the same thing, I was about to say the same thing, They were kids, and I mean, in that age, you're not thinking the way you would thought when you're much older. Of course, there's a different kind of flame inside you when you're 17, 18 years old and shit like that.
Hmm.
You think but you don't know jack shit, brother. You got a lot to fucking learn. So yeah.
But but moving away from that, I wanted to talk a little bit about you and guitar a little bit because
Hmm.
I really think that while the duo of Daniel and Short was amazing, I will say that the duo between you and Daniel is just as great
Hmm.
because I would almost say, and I even said it during the BRT album ranking, that I would say around the time of the self-titled album 10 years ago was really where I felt the band truly shifted because like prior it was more how do I put it? It was like, first album, Monument of Death, very evil sounding and kind of the closest they got to a black metal influence just because of some of those
Yeah.
fast tremolo riffs kind of had that like late 90s mayhem vibe but mixed with the Cannibal Corpse vibes. And
Yeah.
then as everything went along, then it just got a little more little bit thrashier and a little more mid-tempo oriented, but adding in those like cool melodic solos. But then you get to the self-titled where it's like somehow things got more melodic but yet more brutal at the same time
Yes,
because lower guitars to where it's down to like drop B or B standard, what have you. And it's just like the riffs just got chunkier, they got more brutal, but at the same time, more melody coming into the play, which like that song Primitive Killing Machine, like I watch that music video all the time with you and Daniel going to town on those riffs and that melody line. It was like, wow. And that's hands down one of my top 20, 30 favorite melodies I've ever heard in metal.
Wow.
That that is such a ugh. And then as we keep going, it's like that vibe pretty much has stayed with the extra brutality, but the extra melody thrown into the mix. But when it comes down to guitarist and influences, obviously Dime is up there. As I even say a lot, you're like the European Dime because you look similar to him, you play the Deans like him, and you're pretty much similar to him personality wise. Just fun loving, want to have a good time and play some kick ass tunes.
Fucking A, bro. Fucking A. Yeah, I mean, he totally changed my life, Dimebag Darrell, and he's sort of like a I glorify him. He
a god.
Yeah, definitely. He's been during rough times in life. I think of him, and things get easier. And is there one thing that I do on stage every time I mean, shit's about to go west, or I got a fucking solo that I need to play. Things need to be perfect and shit like that, It's like, think of Dime. What would Dime do? Remember when Dime was on stage in Moscow at that show? Yeah. I mean, it sounds better live than on the album. He's just fucking killing it. It was like, So I think of him a lot, especially on stage. So yeah, but of course, I grew up with Hetfield and Kirk Hammett, and I mean a lot of different extreme guitar players like Kerry King and Zakk Wylde. Yeah, I mean. Extreme Dino Cazares, Mick Thompson, Pat O'Brien. I mean, we're talking about ball breakers, when it comes to extreme stuff. So yeah,
so many great ones.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, Pantera. Yeah, Pantera is one of those bands that throughout the times has become a more of a bearer standard for a lot of people.
Standard bearer,
yeah. I mean, especially here in Texas, because they're a Texas-born band. To us in Texas, they're like gods because they came from Texas, from Arlington, which is like 8 hours away from where I am. But it's a thing that Pantera has influenced so many bands, and it's funny enough that they actually started as a power metal band, which is funny to think from power metal.
From glam metal to what they would become at the end of the 80s, and then into them along with Exporter pioneering what people call groove metal.
Yeah. So there's something about that band, I mean, to this day, they surprise me. I really, when I listen to a song, and when you nail it down, it's like it's not your normal band. I mean, I'd say 80%. Well, 80% of their music is sort of simple, but
Hmm.
20% is so fucking technical in a way. I just it's hard to explain. What Vinnie Paul is doing, and with Dime with those extreme riffs. So and the way they write music, it's amazing, amazing.
Hmm.
It's not only they got their own sound, but the way they write music, a song from A to fucking Z, whatever, they are just amazing. And I got a funny story when it comes to Pantera. Never seen him live, but when I moved to Norway, um I was this was a weekend, Saturday, and I was in the city at this record store, and I was just like going through albums and stuff like that, and I saw Cowboys from Hell. But I couldn't buy the album because we just came to Norway. We didn't have a fucking CD player. We had to use our money on motherfucking food and clothes and shit like that. So it is what it is. And back in school, it was like Monday or something. We had this activity where we painted on snow. So I went out, and what am I gonna paint? I didn't know what the fuck I'm gonna paint. So I thought of Pantera, and I painted with big letters on this fucking snow pile. Pantera, Cowboys from Hell. I didn't know. I didn't know the music. I didn't know jack shit about the band, but I just loved the whole fucking the name and those crazy guys
On
on
the
the
bar,
cover and
jumping
shit.
off the
Yeah.
table.
Yeah. I mean, and years later, I was we moved to the south, and I mean, just became a metalhead. So I was like, hell yeah. And I saw the same album in a record store, bought it, and I was like, "Holy motherfucking shit!" I mean, this is so like a fucking cutting edge sword, something just like fucking you up, and speed and intense and aggressive and solos and this and that shit. It was like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's probably the fact that the Abbott brothers wanted a sound because, yeah, of course, this was during the when they started. This was during the '80s. Glam pop was really, really high at the time. I mean, to the point that we know that Diamond was a huge Kiss fan.
yeah.
I mean, huge Kiss fan. But with Dime and Vinny, and of course Rex and Phil, they created something unique that, of course, with the recent news that Pantera is actually going to be touring, a lot of people are like, it's not Pantera without the Abbott brothers, which I do see the argument, but for people like
It's a celebration.
yeah,
That's what it is.
but for people like who didn't see Pantera live, have a chance to kind of see them live, but of course,
Mm.
with Phil back, Rex back, and having Charlie on drums and having Zach on guitar, which they were excellent choices. What are your
Mm.
thoughts on the whole reunion kind of thing?
Well, the only thing that bothers me a little bit, I see Pantera, the logo on festivals and stuff like that, and that's a little bit, they should have called it like
Cowboys from Hell or
Cowboys
Pantera
from
something.
Hell.
tribute or something, Pantera and then tribute, called it. But besides from that, it's I never think. I don't like to think negative about anything. You know. I mean, we're going to the fucking show, meet up with friends, watch our heroes on stage playing our favorite fucking songs, and we'll have a fucking drink and shit like that. And so yeah, fun time, man. It's all just good times, you know. So yeah, I stay the fuck away from those comments and shit like that. It just gives
Oh
you bad
yeah,
fucking vibes, man. Fuck that shit, you know.
yeah.
I'm going to a show. I'm gonna get fucking shit faced and try to drink everybody under the table. That goes straight to hell every fucking time, you know. So goddamn, yeah,
Yeah.
good times.
Well, since you're a huge ass Pantera fan, Levi, would you do the honors of going to Metallum?
Oh
And
boy, here we go.
here we go.
We're already going down this rabbit hole, are we?
Yep.
So basically, this came about. This has been like a little game that Ricky and I have played all the time since 2019.
Around there.
Around
Yeah,
2019, and the creators of the Encyclopedia Metallum, the Metal Archives, is a
Yeah,
godsend because without this website, there are so many bands I would not have discovered, like BRT.
yeah,
But
yeah.
we play this game where we just randomly pick a band and we try and guess because they got, excuse me, they got the similar artists section where they like have these list of bands that fans vote on. It's like, oh, this band reminds me a lot of this band, or they kind of connect through members of other bands and they put them on there, or just having a similar style to so and so. But figured why not? We'll give it a try with you on BRT's Metal
Mhm.
Archives page. Similar artists. Who would you
Yeah.
say would be the top 5 similar artists to Blood Red Throne, at least in your opinion?
God damn, that's a good question.
This is the
Similar.
fun part. This is where everyone starts to think like, oh shit.
Yeah, I need to think a little bit. There's a band in Mexico, Skeletal Throne. Extremely good. They're big fans of Blood Red Throne too, you know. So check them out if you got time.
Mm-hmm.
And similar to Blood Red Throne. Fuck. Some of the hooks with decapitated. When we're talking about self-titled, you got the song "Hymn of the Asylum" with Blood Red Throne, and it's a little bit similar to decapitated. Oh fuck, I don't remember the name of the song, but you know it's sort of a little bit here and there, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people have, you know, called us, you know, Cannibal Corpse. You got that Cannibal Corpse groove to Blood Red Throne too, you know. So you know, it's the 3 bands. And wow, that's maybe something from some hooks from Suffocation here and there, give and take.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was a fucking difficult question, you know. It was a difficult
Yeah.
question. So yeah,
Even Bold had a tough time on this too.
yeah. So,
Well, here, like they have a whole list, but they always show like when you go to the section, they show 20, but the top 5, Cannibal Corpse number 1. So you got that. Now the
yeah.
remaining 4, I'm curious to hear your thoughts. So number 2, Vomitory.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
Mhm.
After all, Bolt
Love
rocked
those
the
guys.
shirt in the Primitive Killing Machine video. Yeah, I need to
Yeah.
get their albums. I keep sleeping on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Three, three, Bloodbath.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
4, Aeon.
Aeon. I can see that here and there. Yeah. Definitely Aeon. Huh.
And then number 5, Deicide.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of inspiration, from D-side,
Yeah,
So,
especially them triplet chugs that I always love.
yeah. Awesome.
And then for completionist sake, the rest of the top 20 had Severe Torture,
Mhm.
Aborted,
Oh, yeah.
Decapitated, of course,
Yes,
Cannabis Corpse,
Cannabis Corpse.
Kronos from France,
Okay.
which I haven't checked out, and then you got Vader,
Vader.
which I would say yes whenever it gets really thrashy. It
Yeah.
definitely gives me that Vader vibe.
Yeah, definitely.
Dying Fetus.
I love those guys. I fucking love those guys.
Yeah.
One of my favorite death metal bands, Dying Fetus. Holy shit.
Vile. Is
Vile.
another one.
Yeah.
And then this one I think should be higher on the list, and one of my favorites, Broken Hope.
Broken Hope.
Yeah, they should be
Okay.
higher.
Yeah.
Nice.
Then the remaining 6, you got Prostitute Disfigurement,
Okay.
Deeds of Flesh, which I need to get some of their stuff too. Torture Killer from the Finland. And then the final 3, you got Hate Eternal,
Yeah.
Amon, aka
Yeah.
Deicide before Deicide, and
Yeah.
number 20, Vital Remains.
Vital Remains. Okay.
Yeah, all over the map. They really
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like,
Yet
if
another
I were-
band that I'm a huge fan of, Vital Remains. Love their music. Jesus fucking Christ, I did a cover of De-Christianize on drums, by the way. Yeah, I did that, So,
that had to have been wild to learn all them blast beats and turnovers and shit.
yeah. It's a fucking long song too, So, yeah, practiced a lot, So it's on YouTube somewhere. So
Yeah. I need to get some Valor Remains, especially Icons of Evil. I love that album cover, especially around this time, around Easter. Kind of fitting.
kill it.
The original, not the re-release. The original. album
Yeah.
cover.
I only have one Vital Remains album right now, and it's the debut Let Us Pray. But I'm planning to get the rest at some point.
Awesome.
All slow when it comes down to my music buy-in, which, again, I love these segues. So we always talk, ever since we had Swano,
James.
Dan,
Was it Swano or James?
or it might have been James. Yeah, or no, it might have been Gunner, actually, when we started this,
I
where
think.
we talk about, like, the physical music, because we know Gunner's a big vinyl guy, and, of course,
Yeah.
talking to Swano, and he always gets, like, CDs from, like, bands that he works with and loves them. And then Jeremy Wagner, big CD guy, of course, as you can tell in the background, we are CD guys. Yeah. Me
Awesome.
more so than Ricky. Ricky's
Yeah.
still playing catch up to me.
Again, you're never gonna catch up to fucking Nick.
I know. I'm not trying, but I'm just doing my own thing. But I digress.
Yeah.
But so currently, I am sitting at nearly 1,000 CDs now.
Holy shit, man. That's good. That's fucking good, man. People are buying music. Hell yeah.
So our question for you is, when it comes to music, you CD, vinyl, cassette, or digital guy?
Mostly digital. It saves space.
Mhm.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
fair.
yeah,
That is fair.
definitely. Mm. But yeah, the digital, it's sort of easier, So yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's I'm kind of the same with digital media, but I always like to get the CD because once you get the CD, you have it on your own. You read the
yeah,
liner notes, you look at the album cover, you appreciate what the artist tried to do for that because unfortunately there's some bands out there that you cannot find on Spotify, on Apple Music, because
yeah.
they're so hard to find. That's why you need to go and find the physical media. Like for example, there's what was the album that took me a while? Okay, like for a while, Levi and I took us a while to find Into Darkness by Winter. We
Oh
got it
yeah,
for
this story.
a cheap price, but then like a week later, they re-released it. Like they announced they were gonna re-release it. I'm like, fuck, you gotta be
Oh,
shitting me.
yeah, yeah,
And it was the
yeah, yeah.
original release that we got from
Mm-hmm.
1990 from Future Shock Recordings.
Mm-hmm.
And then a week later, we find out a label's re-releasing it. It's like, well then.
That sucks, but what to do?
But yeah, it happens. But yeah, as far as like all the CDs, like right here, I got pretty much everything BRT. So yeah,
Fucking
Monument.
A, bro.
This
Fucking
was an interesting find, the Taste for Blood EP, and it's not in a jewel case. I had to buy a promo sleeve for it, but I got it for fucking $10, which it's like I'll take it to hear the demos of some of the tracks from here. So yeah, I
yeah,
got that. Of course, affiliated with Suffering,
Mm-hmm.
Altered Genesis,
my favorite album.
Come Death,
Mm,
and then Souls of Damnation that had the documentary. And then,
yeah,
of course, your debut, Brutalitarian Regime,
exactly.
the self-titled, which this was, oh my god, it was the biggest pain in the penis trying to find this anywhere because for some reason, like, Severed Records have just not done any reprints of this album. Then again, quite a few albums from 2013 have been
Mm-hmm.
kind of difficult. Like Evile's Skull, I'm
Yeah,
trying to find a copy of. It's like, what is it with 2013 and albums that are hard to get
I
nowadays?
don't know what happened in 2013. I really don't know what
It's just
happened.
strange, but I had to pay a ridiculous amount of money to find this at a record store site from Chicago. But thankfully, I got it. And then, funny enough, when I brought it up to Bolt, he's like, "Should have messaged me. I could have sent you a copy because I got lit up."
there we go.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I did ask Gunner to ask around everybody else in the band to see if they had any spares, and he told me, they just have their personal copy. It's like, shit.
Yeah,
Well, it's like I'll keep searching, and then I finally found it, and thankfully I got it. But moving on,
thank you, brother.
then to Union of Flesh and Machine, Fit to Kill, where I discovered the band,
Mhm.
Wow.
and then the latest Imperial Congregation.
Yeah, yeah.
And then, of
Yeah.
course, when talking to Bold, of course, him telling us about the eventual new album probably coming out in the second half of the year. You guys currently doing, which give me more. I
Oh
can
yeah.
never not have more.
Yeah.
And
It's gonna
definitely
be
when that comes out for pre-order, that's an instant
Mhm.
pre-order.
Oh yeah.
hell yeah,
We
bro.
want more. Give us more.
Fucking
It's
A.
like Mom Sim said, more is more.
Exactly. How can less be more? More is
Exactly.
more.
Yeah. But funny
Yeah,
enough,
but the new tunes, they're gonna be fucking awesome, fellas. We spend a lot of time, listening to the songs before after we have written them, and one of my latest, it was a lot of focusing on the music and having the fucking soul, so we spent a lot of fucking time on this, so it's gonna be really, really interesting.
Yeah, and definitely with that first track, Latrodectus, I mean, that already is like a good hint, I can tell, because fucking brutal blasts, brutal thrash moments, killer catchy hooky groove, and then
Yeah.
melodic lead work. So
Fucking
basically,
A.
all the perfect ingredients you could want from a BRT track, all right there, and can't wait to hear the rest of it. So, and yeah, and we talked to Bolt about it, and I even like messaged Gunner because Gunner and I have basically almost become like brothers. Almost, he's like the little brother I wish I had, which is crazy to think I'm older than him. But
He's a good man.
yeah, really, and a hell of a bassist. Like holy shit! But
Yeah.
but yeah, I brought up like I found it kind of strange when I found out that you guys were no longer on Nuclear Blast because, as Bolt told me, they went through like a management change where the new people coming in didn't know about you guys, and it just kind of happened that way. And because I feel like had that same management stuck around, I could definitely have seen you guys have been like Nuclear Blast could have been like, this album kicked ass. Let's get another one. But of course, shit happens in the music industry that are beyond your control. But at least on Soul Cellar, it's going to be very, very cool, which I always find that ironic. Soul Cellar Records, and you had the song Soul Cellar on the self-titled, which it's like, it's a win-win.
Definitely. Yeah, and they're easier to talk with, they respond pretty quick and stuff like that, so yeah, it's gonna be interesting, fellas. It's gonna be really interesting in the future, so just really, I got my mindset on doing more shows and shit like that, so ass kicking. I mean, there's I just got a message in, about playing a festival in Arkansas, maybe. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, in June.
Hmm.
I think, Arkansas. I'm not sure, but yeah. So
hey, that's just one state over from you, Ricky.
I mean, it's still far. It's like probably like a day up to drive to Arkansas, maybe more.
Yeah, it'd probably be from here in Ohio. It probably would be about a 20-hour drive.
Jesus fucking Christ!
Yeah,
no, we're not. We don't think that's gonna happen because of the COVID restrictions and shit like that. Because Bolt and Daniel, they don't have the vaccines. They refuse them, so no fucking entry. So. I mean, we'll see what the fuck is gonna happen, But I do miss the States. I miss your cheap alcohol prices, and I miss the
decadent food.
Yeah. I mean, that's where I learned to eat steak at breakfast.
Yeah,
2 eggs, a huge fucking steak. Some taters and a shot of whiskey, and yeah.
I mean, hell, I even told this to Gunner. Whenever shit gets better and you can finally come over to the States for a tour, and you come to either Columbus, Cincinnati in Ohio, or even Huntington, West Virginia, I will do everything I can to be there and meet up with you guys. And I told Gunner, I may not be a drinker, but I'll buy everybody a beer.
Fucking A. Thank you, brother.
Same thing with me, but this time I'll get you guys some Whataburger.
Yeah, Whataburger. Which I've had Whataburger. It's really good. So there you go.
Nice. Yeah.
Or hell, maybe even like I were to get there early enough, and by some miracle you guys find me and be like, hey, come back with us, and I could cook steak and stuff like that. Hell, I actually made a steak last night and it was pretty good. So
for all we know, they could hire you as your personal chef.
Yeah, there we go.
That'd be a little pressure, but I think I could pull it off. Like My specialties are steak and smash burgers.
Wow.
So there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do enjoy cooking whenever I'm feeling in a good mood or if I'm home alone, like right now, since the folks are not here. So, but I digress on that because now I'm getting hungry.
Yeah,
but but yeah, and going back to the dime bag conversation, like of course, and it's kind of like sentimental to Ricky and I because Ricky being from Texas, Pantera, Texas band, and then for me in Ohio, unfortunately, where we lost Dime, 2 hours north of where I am, where that happened, and
yeah.
man, it does not feel like it's been nearly 20 years.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, 20 fucking.
And almost 5 years since we lost Vinny too.
Yeah. Time flies, gentlemen. Shit, time flies, man. God damn.
But hey, at least, and then also my oldest brother, who's been gone for 7 years. At least, I always say, at least he's up there in the heavens watching the Abbott Brothers jam because he loved Pantera too. He was the one that got me into Pantera when I was a wee lad.
Yeah, wee lad. Yeah.
So, because like even Pantera was one of the early bands I got into around the same time I was getting into like Alice in Chains and Sabbath and them when I was 10, 11 years old. So
yeah. That's awesome. Damn.
Yeah, Pantera, like I mentioned before, is one of those bands that has just to the point that even Funko made a pop entire band, which I might have to get that eventually in the future.
Because you got the AC/DC one behind you.
Yeah, I got the AC/DC one. I have almost all the Kiss. I just missing Gene Simmons, but we shall see.
Yeah.
But just out of curiosity, because we did talk to Gunnar as well as James from Hellripper about this, but by any chance, are you a wrestling fan?
No.
Damn.
Yeah.
Damn.
Well, I like Foxy wrestling. That's nice. When women are, that's nice.
I mean, who doesn't love that?
Huge fan of that, But well, everything when it comes to women, everything is nice.
Better.
Except from what's it called? The Two Girls, One Cup.
Oh,
I'm not a fan of that. Check that. Or Japanese girls like having sex with octopuses and stuff like that. That's also gross and stuff like that. So
yeah, the Japanese have a weird sense of humor.
They really do. They really do.
But they got some weird but awesome music, like some shit, like fucked up music, which is fucking cool.
Yeah. They are a different kind. Those Japs. They are definitely. I mean, and I don't know what the deal is about crying during sex. They like crying during sex, so that's also strange, but whatever pushes your buttons, Jesus.
Whatever floats your boat, whatever gets you up, whatever gets you moist.
Yeah, fucking shit. I mean, I remember
whatever keeps the party going.
Yeah. But I mean, it's weird, It was this Japanese chick, just like laying down on the floor, and she's like looks like scared and shit. And there's this other Jap chick taking a shit on her while she's crying, I was like, what the fuck is that? You're shitting on somebody when you're crying, and you're crying at the same time. What the fuck is up with that?
Some weird ass fetish. I'm like, no. I'm like, I'm out. I checked out. I'm like, no.
We got this thing in Blood Red Throne. We send each other videos, a lot of crazy shit, E-fucked and stuff like that. We got this Blood Red Throne chat message thing on Facebook. You know, there's tons of crazy shit there, man. God,
Oh God, I'm just imagining.
Oh my
yeah.
God.
Oh, a lot of wild stuff, you know. Oh God.
Oh, my eyes.
Yeah.
At least you've never seen a Russian sickle.
Russian sickle. What is that?
Oh God. Well, since you asked,
Well,
Go
since you
for it.
asked,
so this ties into the wrestling thing. So Ricky and I, every Saturday night, we do a pro wrestling podcast with some friends who are, most of them are also metalheads, and one of them, our friend Scott, who actually plays bass and guitar, and he's really good. He was a pro wrestler until he retired years ago, and one pay-per-view we watched was NWA Starrcade 1986, where there was a steel cage match between Ric Flair and Nikita Koloff, who's really from Minnesota, but he's portraying a Russian villain. And during the match, Ric Flair gives him a suplex, and right as he lands, Nikita's dick pops out of his trunks. And the referee had to reach in there to put it back. And
damn.
it's uncensored on Peacock.com, which is the NBC streaming service.
Yeah.
Of all the things that website censors, and they never censored the Russian sickle. And I swear, it's like for the next 10 minutes after I saw that was all I could see. It's like, that image is imprinted in my fucking brain now. And then Ricky, my best impression of a Ricky reaction, he goes, "Oh, Jesus Christ!"
because I didn't see it until Scott told it, like, rewatch him.
Until he pointed it out, because I was watching
like,
the show and I didn't even remember that. And then he says, "This match is remembered for Nikita's dick." And I was like, "Oh God, now you got me curious." And I was like, "Oh God, no,
Shit, Jesus.
no."
Yeah,
A lot of wardrobe malfunctions happen in sports and entertainment more often than people think.
Yep.
Yeah. Janet Jackson.
Oh yes.
Super Bowl.
Or any
Yeah, I heard that a lot of Christian people in the States didn't like that.
Oh boy.
Oh, don't get started on that. But
I will say that yes, I was born and raised Christian, still am a believer, but I hate when they get stupidly sensitive about that shit. It's like, who cares? Just shut up.
More of Catholic, so more linear,
me too.
Yeah, but now that we're going kind of sort of into that realm, I want to ask you this: since you've been to so many shows, so many concerts, what has been some of your favorite concert experiences? This is like one of the questions I always like to ask people, because it's always fun to see, people going to concerts and just seeing bands live. Like, I'm pretty sure you must have some memorable concert experiences at probably your first concert, your favorite band you've seen live, maybe meeting an artist. Like, we all have stories.
I remember right off the top right now, it was like Slayer played their last show in it was in Norway. And I believe it was the last show. Not sure. But anyway, I was crowd surfing. And some Blood Red Throne fans saw me crowd surfing. And I talked to them later. It was like, "Is that Meathook from Blood Red Throne crowd surfing? Holy shit, we need to get, we buy him some drinks and shit like that." So I met some Blood Red Throne fans while crowd surfing on Slayer. So that was pretty fucking cool. Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
I gotta wonder if that might be on YouTube somewhere.
Yeah.
It probably is. It probably is. I'll have to look it up.
Probably
now just
is.
to point out, like, oh, there's the hook.
Yeah. Oh, that was fun. That was fun times, always.
Yeah, probably is. And to me, always tell these stories because it's probably one of the most memorable. Probably it is the most memorable experience I've had at a concert was when I saw Cradle of Filth live back in 2018. 2018? Yeah, back in 2018. They were doing the Cruelty and the Beast anniversary thing. It was the 30th anniversary, if I remember correctly. Don't quote me on that, but they were touring. At the time, I didn't have a car. I used to take the bus to San Antonio. It's like a 2-hour drive. During that drive was when the Notre Dame church was burning.
Oh yeah.
So already I was being paranoid because the venue that they were gonna play, it's near the San Antonio River. And right in the middle of the river, you have the venue on the right, and on the left, you had a Baptist church.
Yeah.
So, in being Cradle of Filth, you know how they are. I was already thinking in my head, oh God, they're gonna be protesters
Yeah.
protesting the venue. Which a part of me wanted to see that because I've never experienced that kind of thing. A part of me wanted it to be protesters because the whole thing with Notre Dame and all that, I was being paranoid, but thankfully they weren't, which I was kind of sad, but thank God. But I get there, it was Raven Black, Wednesday 13, and Cradle of Filth. That was the bill. After the show, I stayed a bit longer than I should have to go back home because I had to take the bus back home at 12 midnight to get home at 2. I stayed a bit longer and actually got to meet almost everybody from Cradle of Filth.
Wow.
Not everybody. I couldn't meet Danny. I couldn't meet
Yeah.
Daniel, but I met everybody. I met Richard. I met Lindsay. I'm forgetting everybody else's name, but I almost met everybody. And the guy that I met there waiting, because he also was from my hometown, I asked him, this is a complete stranger. I met like an hour in outside, if he could take me back home, like give me a ride home because I missed my bus. He's like, yeah, sure. I'll take you home. So I hitchhike for the first time ever. I've ever done that. And we get home around maybe 3 in the morning. He asks me, where do I live? I live by the south side. He lives by the north side. He has to go to work as soon as he gets home. So he calls me a cab to take me home.
Wow.
And my
That's
parents never knew about this.
Oh, that's a good man.
Brilliant sneaky sneak.
Yeah. Yeah, but again, meeting almost everyone from Cradle of Filth was like to me, it was like the big moment for me because around that time I was barely going more into concerts because right after graduation from high school, my first concert was Kansas, which I love Kansas to death. But where I live, not back then. Now we're starting to get more shows, but back then there wasn't much of a big metal scene. So I was like, I wish become more bands to my hometown. Thankfully, now we're getting more bands. Of course, we got Soulfly last year. We got Left to Die last year. We got Brujeria 2 weeks ago, which I'm still fucking mind blown about that. But,
Yeah.
it's one of those things that I always tell Levi because Levi's only been to one concert. If you have the chance to go to a concert, either you gotta hitchhike, take a bus, walk, take it,
Yeah.
because you never fucking know, man. You never fucking know.
What the fuck is gonna
You might
happen?
see them as long as you see them live once. I'll take it. After that, that's like a bonus. Like, for example, with Maiden, I was fortunate to see Maiden live for the first time ever. Rammstein, same thing. I was like mind blown before Rammstein.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful, unbelievable experience when you go to a concert.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah, the one show
Yeah.
I went to was late last year. I went and saw Megadeth live, and holy
Yeah.
shit. And this was like a couple weeks after the new album came out, so they did play a couple tracks off of that. They played We'll Be Back, but the one song from the new album I wanted to see them play was Soldier On, and they did, and I got to see Dirk Verburen do his blast beat live. I was like, oh god, yes. And the one thing I was hoping, I mean, I kind of knew they would play it, but I was hoping they still would, and that was play Holy Wars. And they
Yeah.
played that as their closer, and it was mind blowing.
Wow.
Awesome.
Awesome.
It's still a little awkward that I went to that show just because they had to open for Five Finger Death Punch, and I am not a fan of those guys. So it's like, I unfortunately had to pay a ticket for Five Finger Cousin Fuck Death Punch. Death Punch. Get it right, brain. Just to see Megadeth. But the opening bands before Megadeth, Fire from the Gods, they were like a new metalcore type band. They weren't bad. And then that Mongolian band, The Who, HU, they were entertaining as fuck. I was like, damn, these guys are wild. And very catchy. And what's funny, the front man was saying, "Thank you, Cincinnati!" And my dad, who was hanging out at the casino next door to the venue, he was standing outside and he could hear everything. He thought he said, "Fuck you, Cincinnati." About that, it's like, oh god, damn. But that was fun, and I am still attempting to go to a few shows this year that are coming up. Like next month, I am still trying to find a way to go see Morbid Angel, Revocation, Crypta, and Vitriol in Columbus. And then probably these two shows are going to be more doable, and they're around my birthday too. Gojira and Mastodon, and then the week later, Ghost and Amon Amarth.
Go for it, man.
I'm trying. Believe me, I try my damnedest. And it's not so much a problem with money, because I make decent money at work. It's just getting there is the problem.
Yeah. Time flies fast. Don't miss on life, man. Do stuff. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Sorry for interrupting you fellas. My battery is really fucking low right on my phone. Do you got any more questions?
I think we're all set there. Well, there is one. There is actually one question from our live chat, real quick, and that's from Bert, old guest we had for friend. How did you collaborate with the game makers of Hatred from Destructive Creations?
It was our Bolt was out of the band a couple of months, so we had this other vocalist, Martin Skar Berger, that's his name. So he's a gamer, and he hooked up with the people who created that game and wanted that song. So yeah, that's cool.
Awesome. Well, anyways, thank you very much for being on here, Ivan. This was a hell of a fun time, even if it was a shorter episode. But hey, we got all the big stuff in, and we had a good time, almost like as if we were backstage at a BRT show. That's the way That's the way we always like to treat these interviews, is like as if we're backstage talking shop with the guys, having fun. But after this goes up, I will update the description box of the archive episode to include Ivan's socials as well as BRT socials. So for those of you watching, please check out the band. They need more love. Damn it. Damn it.
All right, fellas.
But anyways, we will see. Ricky and I will be back for a future episode. We still got the interview with John McEntee from Incantation on the docket, as well as bringing James from Hellripper back for the top 10 first wave / proto black metal albums episode. And then anything else in between, depending on what we can come up with. But until next time, you people out there, do yourself a favor. Keep those horns high, but most especially, keep your dreams wet.
Yeah. And don't get your penis